Hey everybody, Stuff I Heard Podcast. This is the YouTube part. We're going to hit go on this and start this off. Hello everybody, and thank you for listening to the Stuff I Heard Podcast. Today happens to be Wednesday, the 30th of October. Tomorrow is Halloween. And I have Josh Treadaway here.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
He is happened to stop by from Myrtle Beach on his way to Columbia. And what brings you back?
Well, first I just came by to see you, man, because I hadn't seen you in a while, you know? You're my brother.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to catch your ear real quick about, some stuff, because I've been talking to some people about possibly getting into maybe trying to do some voiceover style work or stuff like that. And I know you well enough to know that you're diligent enough that you did your research when you bought your mics and your soundboards and all this. And I was just trying to catch your ear on kind of what you thought would be a kind of good starter kind of thing. Okay. Without being too expensive to start off with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can tell you kind of off the bat since we're here looking at it. I mean, this is the Behringer Xenix 802, and I got the one that doesn't have the USB connector because I was an idiot. I didn't pay attention to what I was clicking buy now on. They make one with a USB connector installed, and I'll show you what I mean because this is the step up.
Oh, this is the one that you bought
yeah.
to get upgraded?
This is the one that's got 4 channels on it, whereas this one's got 2 microphone spots. This one's got 4. It says it's got 12, but I don't know how to hook into all these other things just yet. I'm still learning that part, but I know I can put 4 XLR cables in there, which is these cables that hooks into these microphones. But if you notice here, it's got a picture of the back. It's got a thing there.
Yeah, an Ethernet port.
That's what your Ethernet, your USB will plug into that and then into your computer, whatever computer you're using. This doesn't have that, so I had to buy this little red box right here.
Okay.
This is a UCA 222, and see how it's got a white and red cable? That plugs right here into the board on the output, right, white and red. That's left and right, basically.
Gotcha.
This has a plug that converts it into a USB plug.
Okay, so then it connects it to the...
It's an extra piece of equipment. It's an extra price. It's an extra component that you got to buy if you don't have the USB compatible one of these. That's kind of why I wanted to buy this one. The weird part is this one has the USB plug-in on the back. This one was $20 cheaper than the one that doesn't have one.
Really?
I don't know why. You would think it would be more expensive since it's already got the components already in it. But that little piece right there is like, I want to say it's like $22. But I was like, what the heck, I mean, when I bought this one, I don't remember there being a price difference between the one with the USB and one without. So I just went with this one. And the 802, when you've heard, it sounds fine. I figured out how to plug in headphones. I figured out how to do phone interviews with Greg. I mean, it's literally just playing around with different plugs and wires and stuff like that. And I got a wire configuration down here that lets me plug into it. It's just a whole bunch of wires in the floor, basically. But I took pictures once I figured it out of where my sound levels need to be and what plugs into what.
I got you.
But basically, I can plug these into here and have a phone interview with somebody, so they're at their house, and then we can do a podcast remotely, which is kind of my idea of. I thought if I ever get to the point where I'm doing podcasts with people that aren't in the area, I can have them call on the phone. We can then hook it up, and then I can just do kind of what I did last time. So, but anyway, I want to say this one right now on Amazon is like $68 or something like that.
That's not bad.
It's not terribly expensive.
But if you're getting that for 50 or plus,
this is $111.
Okay.
So, what, 50 extra bucks basically?
But once you buy all the other equipment as well.
Yeah, I mean, these microphones, I want to say are running $28 maybe a piece. And this is the newer NEEWER. It's just a mic stand and it's got the name brand on the side. These are like $12. They simply just connect to the thing with a tensioner. Now you can tell I had to retrofit this with a new bolt because that one broke. But it works. I mean, it does it fine. It does it fine enough that I bought 2 more for when I expand this thing and go bigger. The cables, you can buy the Amazon cables. These are good quality cables. They're cheap. This is like a 6-foot cable. I think it was like $6.
Okay, that's not bad.
I got 10-foot cables over there. They're like $7.80. It's not terribly expensive for those cables, and they're decent cables, good quality.
So for under like $400 or $500, you can get started easily.
This is under $150.
Okay.
You can use your current computer to link it through. I mean,
you didn't have like special software. I mean, I know you used the Anchor app for a while there.
I use Anchor. Anchor.fm is how you can set up your account on your computer. You just Anchor.fm, go through the things, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. But you can set up your profile. You can start publishing. I mean, you can just record files, move it over, and then publish, and then go from there. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. There's no tricks to it. There is a little bit of a trick, like I'm using GarageBand, so when I save it, there's one little thing I got to do to convert it over to a different type file in order to save it, but that's easy to figure out. I mean,
But that keeps you from losing it like you did a few times.
yeah. If I do it this way, like I can record it straight on Anchor, but then like if I transfer it over and something happens to the computer, I'll lose the file, which we've seen happen.
We did.
I mean,
we had that happen in Myrtle Beach that night.
Yeah. I mean, and Greg and I had done one previously in the day that was like an hour and a half long, and we lost the whole doggone thing. Sorry. But anyway, it was good stuff too, man. It was we were on it. We were making jokes, and it was flying off the shelf, and it just kind of tanked. But anyway, so I mean, yeah, I mean, this is easy to get into. Not much to it. The whole thing is, though, if you go to do one, you guys got to be consistent and keep putting out content. I mean, people tune in if they're consistent. Obviously, I can make one, and I've talked about nothing. I mean, this is stuff I heard. This is literally stuff I heard.
Well,
It
yeah,
could be
but
real.
But it's also stuff you watch as well.
It could be, yeah.
You know.
I mean, Netflix. I mean, if you're topical, like I want to. Right now, there's so much crap on Netflix that just came out that I want to watch. Dolomont with Eddie Murphy and Wesley Snipes. Holy
Who doesn't
crap.
want to watch that?
Dude, that looks so fun. I want to watch that.
I haven't even heard about that, but I mean, just you saying those two names together.
You gotta watch the
I kind of want to see
You're
that.
gonna be like, dude. I mean, I wanted to watch that right away. There's a new show. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like post-apocalyptic, and these kids are still in high school, but it's sort of like West Side Story meets The Walking Dead. They're sort of figuring out teenage life, but also dealing with zombies. So it's a fun premise. The previews look pretty fun. I want to watch it. There's a few things. There's one about Bill Gates, inside Bill Gates' mind, or something like that. And it's like a documentary type thing where they ask Bill Gates a lot of questions, and he's pretty candid about a lot of stuff. And just in the previews alone, I'm like, oh, I could get into this. Yeah. I mean, but like thing after thing after thing that I click on, I'm like, oh, I want to watch that. I want to watch this. I want to watch that. November, holy crap! There's all kind of stuff coming up in November. You know, Disney Plus is coming out.
Yeah, you got your Disney Plus coming out with The Mandalorian.
With The Mandalorian. We got the Mandalorian thing. He's wearing a Mandalorian shirt. I mean, come on. Who doesn't like Mandalorians? But, you know, Disney Plus right off the bat on November 12th. You know, Man in the High Castle is coming out with their final season. I'm into that deep. I mean, holy crap. If you've never seen that, that's incredible.
No, I haven't seen that. Now, the one that I'm excited about, I just heard something recently. Supposedly the second season of Cobra Kai is ready to go.
Okay. I listened to the Michael Rosenbaum interview with...
I did as well. That's how I heard about it. He said that season 1 and 2 is supposed to be ready to be streamed, and season 3 is coming up, supposedly.
Yeah, they're going to release I guess they're going to release the first two for free.
Well, you get to watch like the first couple episodes, and then you have to pay a little bit for it.
Yeah. So I'm glad that's all working out for them. I mean, the premise is cool. Again, I'm not going to pay for it if I don't have to, because there's so much other content to watch right now, and eventually it'll come around to where it's free.
Well, as much as I love and respect Ralph Macchio, I apologize. I'd watch it free as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got apps on my Fire Stick that you know.
Yeah.
But I love the first season. I can't wait to see the second season.
Right now, though, it's really a consumer's market on what you want to watch or what you want to consume, because everybody's coming out with content. Everybody. I mean, we were just talking about the fact that, you know, the Jay and Silent Bob idea. Jay and Silent Bob has their movie coming out. You and I are talking about possibly going to a meet and greet thing and watching the movie. And then there became the question of, yeah, but I mean, the movie's going to be out in October and the meet and greet isn't until February. That's kind of weird. And then you get this moment of meeting them, but how much is it worth to you to meet them in person versus like listening to Mike Rosenbaum interview Jason Mewes? That was a great interview.
It was a great interview.
Good in-depth conversation where he asked a lot of questions that I wouldn't think to ask. And I felt like I know him better by listening to that than I ever did before. And I thought, this is a cool dude, man. I like his story. I like his...
And he's very candid about his life, too. I mean, that was
about his addiction,
everything.
painkillers.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Nashville a short time while he was there doing his addiction.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'd hear stories, but I mean, he was really bad off. I mean, to one, like I said, if you heard the class, I mean, Kevin almost walked away from him.
Yeah. I mean, and they were, you know, they have a friendship through the movies, but also a friendship outside of the movies from growing up together, and you know, you get to hear about how they started the Jay and Silent Bob characters together based upon Jay's real persona when they first met as kids. But you know,
the funnest thing.
I feel like I got more from that than I would have if we'd have done a meet and greet.
Oh yeah, I agree with that
You
as
know.
well. Because I mean, it's just a handshake. I mean, I can't tell him, the same thing everyone else tells him. Man, you're great. I love your writing.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be a little bit more, elaborate about it and be a little bit more, intelligent about it. But it's still going to come off the same fanboy stuff.
Well, it's like exactly when you're talking about fanboy stuff. Like there is the idea of you don't want to meet your heroes because they'll let you down.
I feel like he wouldn't though.
In your mind, you have an idea of who they're going to be and what they're going to be. Like, let's just say, for instance, when we grew up, Michael Jordan was the man.
Absolutely, he was.
Now, if we were teenagers and Michael Jordan happened to walk through the mall, I'd be like, holy shit, Michael Jordan, man. So, we would lose our minds. But then you grow up and you watch Michael Jordan later in life and do interviews and stuff, and you're like, God, this guy's a jerk.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a jerk.
He's a real jerk. But, I mean, if you met him in public nowadays, what would you possibly say to him that he hasn't heard or would even give a crap what you say? I mean, to you, you're like, I get to meet this guy who's the best. To him, he's like, yeah, what's up, dude?
Right.
Later. Get out of my way.
Right. But I do believe Kevin and Jay both are really who they are. I don't think it would meeting your idols that way. I think they would be, down to earth.
Let's take it a different role. If we got to meet somebody like Eddie Vedder.
Well, that's childhood, hero.
But what could you say other than the fact of, your music was really inspirational when I was a kid and it got me out of some dark holes. And
it means something to you, but I mean, he's heard that a million times,
I mean,
it's
a one sentence, two sentence conversation and him go, thanks.
Versus sitting down and hearing him talk a podcast would say, somebody else,
Yeah. So, I mean, even recently, we were just looking on, I looked on my iTunes account just to see what I'd listened to this past couple of days, and right away I noticed Kevin Smith with Joe Rogan, and I'm like, oh, that's an interview I want to hear. Because Joe's going to ask him questions. Joe's a fanboy, but Joe's also like, he gets excited about interviewing people, and if he's into you, he's going to ask questions that he wants to know. And then his excitement kind of bleeds over into the listener, because then we're like, oh yeah, ask him this question. I can't believe you asked him that question. And then, of course, who's not going to answer Joe? I mean, this is your opportunity to shine. You've got millions of downloads per day of people checking you out. And if you got something to promote, I mean, he's the outlet. But also, Joe's like a decent person to talk to. So, who wouldn't want to have that conversation if you were Kevin Smith? I mean, in a way, I'm sure Kevin's probably a fan. I mean...
Oh, by far, Kevin, yeah.
He's got to admire the fact that Joe's kind of doing his own thing and building his own empire out of just talking, just having a conversation with people on a regular basis.
That's kind of where this whole thing came from. Of the reboot and all that was because of the podcast with him and Jay.
Yep.
Everything started building again, and he said, Jay said, "Hey, I want to do a movie." Well, originally, if you heard the podcast, which I know you did, but David maybe didn't. They originally wanted to do he wanted to do Clerks 3, which I would love to see, but apparently somebody didn't want to do it. I have my guess who it was, but that's another subject.
He's taking photos now. It's okay.
Exactly. But then my other one, then they wanted to do Mallrats 2.
Yeah.
And they couldn't because the freaking
the
studio wouldn't let them have it.
Yeah.
By far as everything goes, love the Kevin Smith universe, the Ask You universe. Mallrats is my favorite of all time.
Yeah.
Funny story about that is I didn't know Jay had to actually audition for his part.
I didn't know that either.
When I heard that on the podcast, I'm like, "Are you serious?" And then he went through some of the lists of the people who were going to be him. Seth Green was going to be him. Seth Green could not pull off Jay Hughes.
No,
not at all. So, but that was but that's the thing. But then they brought out the Jay and Silent Bob reboot because he owns that. They have the rights to it, and I'm really looking forward to what I saw the preview wise because it's going to be that fart and dick joke kind of humor, but it's also going to bring it to another generation.
And they're also, both of them are parents now, so they have a different perspective as well, and I think they wrote that a little bit.
Well, I think he also wrote it because his daughter's like one of the lead characters. So I mean, that's part of it too, is bringing his daughter into the whole View Ask You universe.
I mean, it would be cool to meet them, but also at the same time, I think it'd just be a fanboy, and they'd be like, yeah, we get it.
Right. Well, and again, it was $700, $800, I think, so close to something like that to do that. So it made no sense. You're right.
Yeah.
But we're going to see Joey Diaz instead. And
Joey Diaz, listen, you got to check out his comedy. You're going to be like, this is my guy. I mean,
I watched The Degenerates. I got a little bit of it, and then I remembered who he was, from Longest Yard, and I didn't ever really watch The Sopranos, but I knew who he was as far as in The Sopranos. Yeah. But I did catch an idea, but I didn't know he was a just straight up comedian.
Yeah.
I thought he was just an actor.
Yeah, you got to check out his
podcast. So I watched
podcast.
The Degenerates, and it was really good.
You got to check out his podcast, Church What's Happening Now. Uncle Joey, they call him. Uncle Joey's the best. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you and Greg in is that Atlanta?
Yes, Atlanta.
Atlanta. At the Tabernacle. That's right. Hey guys, if you want to go hang out with us at the Tabernacle in Atlanta, January 25th, it's a Saturday. And then you probably have the weekend off. You can come hang out with us. We'll have a beer or two and tell lies. And it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So anyway, I kind of want to talk a little bit about some stuff that I listened to this past week because this is stuff I heard. I got to do the due diligence here. I listened to the Bertcast episode 365 with Robert Kelly. Bert's got a funny story about Robert Kelly. Robert's a comedian who was an established comedian when Bert got started, and they kind of came up around New York, read it together, and they were hanging out one day in Florida, and he wanted to go tubing. He'd heard about tubing. He wanted to go tubing. Well, Bert grew up in Florida, and he grew up on a lake, and he grew up, tubing. So he puts Bobby in the tube, and he goes around. He starts, driving around and flinging him off. And at one point, he flings him off, and Robert's pissed off, and he's like, dude, you're not supposed to throw me. This is messed up. Give me that boat. I'm gonna kick your ass. And he's like, I'm not letting you in the boat. He's like, I'm in the boat. I'm gonna kick your ass. He's like, I'm not letting you in the boat. And he's like, listen, this is what tubing is. He goes, no, it's not. You're just supposed to drive me around on the boat and I just want to go at a nice pace. And he goes, I'm telling you, that's not what you do. And he goes, yes, it is. You better do this. And he's like, fine, just get on the tube and I'll just cruise. He says, so he gets back on the tube and we're cruising around and about 20 miles an hour or so and just going in a straight line. And I look back at Bobby and at a certain point he looks at me and he goes, all right, flip me. It's one of my favorite stories about the two of them hanging out. I'm like, that's great because it's so much their attitudes together, but he didn't know anything about tubing at the time, and it was funny. I checked out Two Bears, One Cave, episode 11. Tom Segura and Bert are in the last finale of Sober October for the month of October, and they're enjoying learning new things and taking new classes and stuff like that. And I'm sure both of them are probably ready for this to be over. Bert talks about how the alcohol helps him sleep, and he's like, even if I could take Xanax, it'd help me sleep. And at the same time, none of it's great for him. And actually, I went to go see him do comedy this past month, and he was better sober than he was ever before. He was sharp. I mean, he's talking about recording his special in November in Cleveland. If you're in the Cleveland, Ohio area, be sure to look up tickets on the Body Shots World Tour. You can check out tickets at bertbertbert.com/tours. And look for tickets in the Cleveland area. He's going to be recording Netflix there if you want to be on for the taping. He's talking about not drinking until then because they can keep kind of slimming down and being sharp. And if you live in the Cleveland area, he's going to be doing a lot of pop-up shows the week of. He's not going to take any time off. He's going to perform every night so that he can be as sharp as possible come time to record, which is cool because a lot of people, I listen to a lot of comedians' podcasts and they all talk about pacing themselves or taking time off before recording. And he's like, no, I'm doubling down. I'm just going to record that much extra so that when it comes time to do it, I'm going to be on fire. And I was like, all right, cool. It seemed to work last time when he did his Secret Time show. Greg and I got to see him right before he recorded the special. No, that was actually, Alex and I got to see him right before he recorded the special the week before in Charlotte. And he was sharp then. So be sure to check that out. Joe Rogan, episode 1369 with Christopher Ryan. Christopher Ryan wrote a book, Sex at Dawn, and he talks about the evolution of sex with animals and people and stuff like that. And he's wrote a new book, and he wanted Nerd to talk about it. And him and his wife right now are living in a van, which is really unusual. They're talking about downsizing because they're always on the go and traveling and stuff like that. And they bought a van with a bed in it, and he's like, "Can it be counted as DUI if I'm sleeping in the back?" And so it's a weird conversation, but if you know Christopher Ryan and you're into them, you want to listen to that. That's pretty cool. Netflix. I got a few things that I've watched here that's pretty interesting. The Kominsky Method, season 2. The Kominsky Method is sort of like Grumpy Old Men, but if they're a lot smarter and well off. Alan Arkin, I looked him up on IMDb. He's 85 years old, and Michael Douglas is like 68. Both of them are super sharp in this. They're best buddies. One plays a washed-up actor who runs a acting studio. The other is a lawyer, or a Hollywood lawyer. He owns a firm, and so he's getting ready to retire. And they're best buddies, and they talk about falling apart at this stage of their life. And one of them's wife's passed away, and he's trying to learn to pick up the pieces since. And there are some surprising characters that come into season 2. Kathleen Turner pops up, which right away I was like, holy crap, it's Kathleen Turner. She looks rough for her age. Back in the day, she was in several movies with Michael Douglas. They did Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile and War of the Roses. I mean, they did a lot of stuff together. And in this, it's kind of cute because, they're supposed to be like an old divorced couple, and she's like a medic down in the, Doctors Without Borders kind of scenario. Her phone rings, and on the caller ID it says asshole. She's like, hello, asshole. Like, she's got a real smoky kind of voice. She's been smoking her whole life. But, hello, asshole. And they fuss at each other, but it's so endearing in a way because they have such a story past together. And even Danny DeVito's on the show in parts of it. He plays this doctor. But anyway, just the dynamic of the two of them talking, and I thought, I wonder if they shot this because they really don't get along and they're not in the same scene. Like, they could do it separately. But maybe they are friendly enough that they're like, fine, I'll do it, but I get, maybe she's like, fine, I'll do it, but I get to call him asshole. I mean, I don't know, it kind of makes me wonder about that part of it. Alan Arkin's in it, and there's a moment when he meets an old girlfriend who happens to turn out to be Jane Seymour, who is still smoking hot.
Very much so.
At 68 years old. I mean, her hair color is, she let it go gray for the role. I guess she's supposed to portray a woman who's a little bit older. But that's the only thing gray going on there. It's a pretty amazing genetics. Even my wife was like, wow, just look at her. I was like, I am. Star-studded cast, interesting story, interesting comedy. I laughed a ton, and I usually don't laugh out loud at stuff, but this had me laughing out loud. I watched it last night, and each episode's like 21 to 25 minutes. There's 8 episodes. You can blow through it in no time at all. Funny, really funny. A lot of quick humor in it. Then also, this morning I got up kind of early and watched a show on Netflix called Laundromat. Laundromat is basically about money laundering and the history of money laundering and how money became a thing and how there's steps to money laundering. And it's narrated, weirdly enough, by Gary Oldman and Antonio Banderas. And Gary Oldman's got like a weird German accent or Russian accent. And it's so strange at parts, but they basically walk you through the steps of how corporations have learned to develop shell accounts and operate under the radar legally to launder money from one fake organization to another so that they have no liability when things go wrong. And then they can then loan money out and share money between illegal operations all over the world, and it's totally legal. And apparently all this came to light a few years ago. Meryl Streep plays the main character basically in this. The show starts out with her husband dying. I mean, this is in the preview. I'm not giving anything away. Her husband passes away. She goes to file the paperwork, and they basically tell her, oh, we can't pay this out because this company bought this company, and this company don't own this company, and so there's nobody that can pay this insurance money, so you're losing out on this, and you're losing out on that. And she's like, how can they get away with this? So then they go into like an in-depth reason of why they get away with this and how they get away with this. And it's disheartening in a lot of ways, but then they also show this is based on a true story. Everything comes full circle. While Obama was in office, there was a time where all of this came to light. Somebody, John Doe, was a whistleblower and let them know all the information and kind of leaked everything, leaked paperwork that was essential to taking down several world leaders from different countries around the world who were all part of some illegal operation of laundering money through each other.
That's what blew my mind when you told me about this. Cause
yeah.
I didn't even know about this whole story.
Billions
was that
dollars.
it was global. It wasn't just local. It was global.
Yeah, world leaders were arrested. Like, the heads of Iceland were arrested by the people. They were some head guy in China was arrested on stage, for his misdealings of defrauding the government. And it was like, whoa, holy! And then they're like, yeah, this is all based on a real story. Like, what? And then the two guys that are played by Gary Oldman and Antonio Banderas, at a certain point, they're like real characters in the story. They get arrested, and then it says they were released 3 months later because
well,
that's what happened.
That's what happens when you're white collar crime.
Yeah. So, how about that?
I get busted with a little pinch of weed. I'm going to jail for years. Well, maybe not anymore, but
glaucoma.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying, you got guys who are ripping people you off for billions of dollars, and they spend 3 months in Club Med.
Yeah.
Because it's white collar crime.
Well, I mean, it's all about scratching people's backs.
With money.
And obviously Epstein didn't kill himself.
Of course not.
The memes on that are hilarious, by the way.
It's getting a little ridiculous, actually.
Well, I mean, the crazy part is like Zach Galifianakis apparently did the Between Two Ferns with Hillary, and in the middle of it ran a Trump campaign ad, like in the center of it. And I was thinking, oh no, she's going to kill him. He's going to accidentally commit suicide. Zach, I'm praying for you, buddy. Steer clear. Don't open any weird mail. Oh, jeez. Such a crazy time. I laughed, I cried, it moved me, Bob.
Did it move you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming to town and hanging out with me. And
I had a great time, man. We went to King Hefe, your favorite little place, got some food and a couple beers. And
I feel like I talk too much.
no, you just talk just the right amount. I mean, I don't do a lot of talking, and usually when I do, I'd say stupid things. So I try to kind of
Let's keep
pick my
saying
spots.
stupid things. Nobody's listening to this. I have an audience of maybe 100 people. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's still a few people
Nobody's listening.
Look,
Nobody cares.
I know you don't think so, but I have it set up. I listen to every new episode. I haven't
Josh
gone
West
back to
doesn't
listen to all of
listen.
them.
We could talk about his podcast that he's never going to do about pickleball. He's never going to listen to
I
this.
still haven't figured out what the heck pickleball is.
Greg never listens to this, even though he's been on it 5 times. He wants to do one on bourbon. He wants to do one on
And if I-
finance.
And you know
He's
what I
not
think-
gonna do
You know what I
one.
think is really funny is that I drank bourbon for years and years and years, and none of you guys drank bourbon. And now all of a sudden, Greg is this bourbon aficionado,
Yeah.
and when we went to the lake house and he had all those bourbons. Don't get me wrong, I know a little bit about bourbon because I it's my job. I work in the service industry.
He's gone deep.
But he's gone. I mean, he's gone down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like I mean, he took the blue pill and
He got a club. He's like, we're doing this. I'm going to learn everything about it. I'm like, cool, man.
he absolutely did.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, it's no different than the way that, you two both were always like. I mean, you've done the same thing with this cedar stuff. You know, you jumped right in and you just went whole hog.
Well,
You know, with this podcast, it started off as something you were just trying, and now it's you've taken it to a whole nother level.
yeah, who would have thought? I didn't think it. I mean, I didn't think it at all.
Well, I didn't really know until the Rambler. I really didn't know how deep you were when you started to put yourself into something. And then when you got the Rambler, and I watched the growth of that and the restoration product, I was like, this guy can do anything he wants to do. He's just got to put his mind to it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is like, you know, when I was in the Marine Corps, they talked about Chester Nimitz. He was a naval commander during World War II. He said that uncommon valor is a common virtue, which means everybody has it within them to be a hero, no matter what. Like if any circumstance comes up, everybody has it within them to rise to the occasion. And it got me thinking about the fact that really, I mean, the only difference between me and anybody else is my willingness to do it. When I applied for the job that I have now, you know, I went in for the interview confident right away that I was going to get the job, and the guy said, you know, why should I hire you? And I was like, because 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, you're going to be like, I'm glad I hired this guy. I said, and I work with half the people that you have employed here, and if you ask them, they're going to say the same thing. I know I can do the job. And at the end of the day,
You sold yourself.
At the end of the day, you're going to ask yourself, do I want to say good morning to this jerk, or do I want to be like, hey, I really like this guy? I said, you're going to be happy that I'm here 20 years from now.
And you're also going to be happy that I'm not at your competition.
But I was like, I'm not. I don't look the part. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the smoothest. But I'll show up and I'll outwork everybody. That was my mantra. I'll outwork everybody. I'll do the work nobody wants to do. I was in the Marine Corps. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. But it's not just that. It's you go through that in life. You go through that in steps. Like even jobs working like McDonald's when we were kids.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was a crappy job. Hey, we need somebody
But we
to do
still
this.
did it we still did it with the best of our
I'll do
ability.
it, yeah. I mean, I wasn't thrilled about it.
No,
but
we
I'd
weren't
do it.
thrilled about it at all.
But I mean, all that translates into life later on is you come across things that you're like, oh, this has to be done. Somebody's got to do it. I might as well, right?
To some degree, yeah, I agree.
I mean,
and sometimes, I mean, if you're doing somebody else, and just because they're too lazy to do it, then I have a problem with that. But I mean, if it's something that's in my, you know, in my not necessarily job description, but
Yeah.
it's in the realm of what my job is.
Yeah.
There's no reason that I shouldn't do it myself because I know I can get it done and I'll get it done right.
I'll even outdo that. I mean, I'll go beyond, even if it's not my job. I mean, there's times where I'll ask questions about how do we do this because I want to make sure this gets done right. But maybe that's a little bit of micromanaging. Maybe it's Maybe it's the fact that I don't want to walk away from it knowing that I didn't do everything I could to make sure it was all right.
Well, it's also the fact that you know that you're going to do it to the point where you're going to finish it and you're going to do it the way it's got to be done. Whereas you don't know if the next person is going to be someone who's going to stay diligent enough.
Right.
It's like my girlfriend at her job. She's the general manager. She's the general manager. She shouldn't be cleaning out grease traps and pulling weeds outside. But instead of having her employees do it, that they're getting paid that she should have do it, she does it because she knows it'll get done right.
Yeah.
And I think that she's wrong a little bit.
I think she's wrong too. There is an element of that by what we were talking about earlier.
But she has a little bit of a control problem. Yeah. And so a lot of it has to do with the fact that, she does it because she knows it'll get done the way she wants it done. Because if they do it and they don't do it the right way, then she's gonna go back and do it anyway.
Yeah. But that's one of the hard parts about being a leader is you have to then do the work with the people to show them that you're willing to do the work also, but then show them by example of this is how it needs to be done and I expect this to be done at this level. And then you require them to say, okay, remember we did the other day? I need you to do that today. I mean, it starts off with little steps, but then it grows into bigger things. And that's how you help empower people. That's how you take some of the load off of yourself moving forward. And
that's what I've been trying to tell her and try to get her to do. But
even
her bosses try to say, you need to stop micromanaging and let them learn and grow on their own.
It's very difficult to do. You ever watch that show Band of Brothers?
Never got to watch it, no.
Okay, so give you a fast forward real quick. These guys signed up for service to be in the 1st Infantry Paratroopers of World War II. And they signed up because they would rather do that than be drafted. They were like, I want to go with a voluntary group who volunteered because I know that they're willing to put their life on the line versus someone who's made to do it because they may not. And I have a greater chance of being killed with them than if I signed up with guys who want to join. So they signed up wanting to join, and they went to Toccoa to become paratroopers. And David Schwimmer actually is one of their drill instructors. And he takes them through a certain part of it, and then they get handed off to a guy who, I can't remember the guy's name. He's like a big deal in Hollywood now. He's got red hair. They call him Colonel Winters or Captain Winters. He moves up as the show goes on. But he leads his men into combat several times, and at a certain point there's a trench warfare scenario, and he figures out how to save everybody's life and defeat the enemy in a trench warfare scenario where they're being flanked. And he kills a guy. And that's in like the first season, one of the first episodes. And then they go forward several seasons, and you never see him have to pull a trigger again or even pull a weapon out. And he leads men into combat, and he is successful mission after mission after mission after mission. And at a certain point, he has an interview with his superiors, and they say, you haven't fired your weapon in 5 years, and you've had active combat every year. In every terrible scenario that we've had, you've led people, and you haven't shot anyone. Do you realize how rare that is? That you were able to lead people in combat in this scenario. And it didn't really dawn on him at the time, but like it comes full circle in the fact that he realized that he was a leader, that he had not only become a leader, he had empowered other people to be leaders in the process. And he had made other people become responsible for those under them. And he sort of nurtured this scenario of, this is what I'm asking you to do. And there's a point where he like defies orders. They tell him to do a mission that's really dangerous. And he's like, I don't feel right asking you guys to do this, but this is what's being asked of by corporate. And they're like, listen, for you, we'll do it. And they do it, and the mission's successful, and they end up losing 2 guys in the process. And they go, great, it was a success, do it again tomorrow night. And he goes, I don't want to. Like, he doesn't say that, but he goes back to his men and he says, okay, so they want us to do it again tomorrow night. And at such and such time, you will report to me that the mission was a failure. Is that understood? So he defies orders to save his men because he realizes if we keep this up, I'm going to lose everybody who matters. But he makes the right decision to save his guys. And by showing that it was a failure, he saved their life. What was that noise?
I think that's my phone.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, almost. Sorry.
Oh, it might be Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Who are you going to call?
Yeah, it's just some spam phone, I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
Bill collector or whatever the case may be.
But I thought it was so inspiring, to see this guy kind of in this role and realize that this whole story was made after real people. Because after every episode, or before and after every episode, they're interviewing the real people that they're portraying in the show. Yeah, I remember such and such firefight, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And then they would show you the dramatization of it.
That sounds pretty cool.
And I was like, dude, I mean, if you've never watched it, it's on HBO. It's probably you can probably stream it.
I mean, I've heard of it. I just never watched it. Back when that came out, and all the other Sopranos and all that. I didn't have HBO, so I never watched any of those shows at the time.
It's amazing to see the level at these kids, 19, 20, 22, go through hell and band of brothers band together to overcome incredible odds. And HBO did it, and anytime HBO gets involved with something like that, they just go over the top, making sure it's right. And they did with this. And
Except for the last season of Game of Thrones.
Except for the last season.
Sorry, had to bring it up. Although they just released it, they're doing the preseason.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I'll go with open mind.
I do want to see they sort of hint around a lot about how bad to the bone Ned Stark was. They never really show you everything though.
Well,
but
you didn't have time to really see anything.
Everybody in every land you ever go to, when they mention Ned Stark, they're like, "Oh, he was
Total
a man."
Total,
and I was like,
total respect and admiration.
Everywhere he went, everybody was like, "Oh, Ned, you're Ned's kid." Oh, what? I was like, "What did Ned do?" I mean, what did you guys see Ned do that was just like, "Holy crap"? I mean, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing that part. I mean, and if they were able to portray the Mad King the right way, that should be interesting.
Well, they're supposed to go back a little further as far as the whole creation of the Night King as well, which I'm kind of interested in seeing that whole thing come about.
I'm really disappointed in the way they wrapped it up.
Oh, it was horrible.
I really wanted there to be a Bronn come around with the time reference, and I don't know. If you haven't watched it yet, spoiler alert, it ends terribly.
If you haven't watched it, you don't care about the show, because if you care about the show, you've seen this, and you most likely feel the same way.
But Arya is still the most badass character on the show.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I was on Arya's team immediately, and then they were going through that whole thing with her with the faceless man, and I was just like, oh, this is boring. What's the point? And then when she has to face off against that girl, and she defeats her, I'm like, whoa. And then she goes back and gets revenge. I was like, I jumped off the couch. I was yelling, screaming, and my wife's like, calm down. And I was like, that's so cool. Yeah, I'm a big Arya fan. I liked it when they brought her in, when her sister kind of suspected her, and she's sitting there with Littlefinger, and they're like, they brought her in front of the group, and Littlefinger's thinking, I got her now.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was trying to turn sister against sister, and she brings her in the room, and there's all these soldiers standing around, and Arya grabs her sword, she goes, we're doing this? And I was like, they should have brought more people. She's about to kill everybody.
Yes.
Then she split his throat. I was like, yes!
If they actually get to do the Arya story, that will be a phenomenal show, I bet.
Yeah, she's cool. I mean, I really hope that they decide to do something further with her. I mean, I don't know if that's that
was the plan
if that's
originally.
something she wants to do, or if it's a contract issue, or if she's just tired of it, wants to take a break. I mean, I totally get that too, because that's a fully immersive thing to do for so long. But man, it's fun to watch. It's fun to talk about too. I mean, that's why my brother gave me his HBO password. He's like, I want you to watch this so we can talk about it. And I was like, okay. So thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. But yeah, so anything you want to promote?
No, not really, other than go Gamecocks. Let's get a win tonight.
Tonight.
I mean, it's an exhibition game, so I mean, we should win, but a lot of new kids, and I think Frank's got a really positive vibe going on in Columbia.
If you're in Columbia tonight and you want to go to the game, it's free.
It's free at the Colonial Center. Game starts at 7 o'clock.
If you want to meet Josh, he's wearing a burgundy Mandalorian t-shirt. Just come up to him and say, hey, I heard y'all stuff our podcast, man, cool. He might like look at you weird and high five you, but whatever.
Well, if you notice the Mandalorian shirt, then I'll give you a high five, no doubt.
Yeah, treetops. That's what Bert calls it. Treetops. I was like, what? He goes, that's what I call high fives, treetops. He goes, what do you call it before high fives? I mean, at what point was it high fives? Was it like in the 80s? I mean, before that, did they ever high five, or they were just like, hey?
I don't know. Is that something that he asked about, or
yeah, he's just kind of curious. He's like, did that happen in the 80s? Was it all of a sudden we're like, hey, high five? Was it in a movie, or? I don't know.
Be interesting to kind of find the history of that.
If you watch old movies and stuff, nobody really high fived until like the 80s. It's like, who was the first person who was like, up top?
Trying to think of the first time I ever saw one.
Was that cultural appropriation? Was that a thing? And like the cool guys are doing it, the black guys are doing it, and the white dudes are like, we need to make it our own. Let's call it a high five.
No, I'm seeing that as more of a kind of a jock kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of a concern like you know, coming off the field, baseball, football, you know, basketball coming off, you know.
Yeah, hey guys.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm thinking more along the lines it's coming from a sports aspect.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. Makes you wonder. So anyway,
Things to make you go,
That's it. We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you everybody
Thank you, guys.
tuning in to the Stuff I Heard podcast, and we'll keep doing these as long as you guys keep listening, and I'll probably keep doing them after everybody quits listening too, because I'm broken in special places. So that's it. Check out Kominsky Method Season 2. It is super funny, unless you're broken inside, and in which case it'll be really funny. That's it. Cue the cow.
peace out.
So let me show you.